Alright, in this lesson, we're going to create complex components with our stateless functional components and class components. What is a complex component? A complex component is simply when you add or combine components together. Previously, we have stuck a number of components within one parent div, but we have yet to place one component within another. This lesson will be a simple exercise in doing this, and that will lead us to our first larger project for this course, where we will create a static complex component. Here is a preview of what we will make. This project that we are looking at is going to be made out of 7 components, with the parent component holding 3 components, and one of those 3 components is combined from 3 more components within it. This lesson will quickly introduce us to creating complex components before we start out on our larger project. Our first step will be to create a new folder. We can go ahead and name this folder Section 4. Inside of that folder, we're going to create 2 files for our 2 complex components we're going to build. We'll name the first one index.html, the second we'll name index2.html. Now, we'll begin by getting our starter code from our Section 3 folder from the course. We'll look at our styled stateless functional components in index2.html from folder 3. Let's go ahead and copy that content. After you've done that, we'll go to index.html for our Section 4 folder of the course, and we'll paste the content in there. Now, let's go ahead and return to our Section 3 folder, and we'll grab our index4.html code for our class components that we want to turn into a complex component. We'll go ahead and copy that content, and then we'll go back to our folder for Section 4 and paste this content in index2.html. Now, let's get started. We'll begin by starting with our index.html file. The first step is to create a color spectrum component. We originally created this in one of our previous lessons, but had since deleted it as we created components for all of our colors. So let's go ahead and create our component color spectrum. We'll make this like every other stateless functional component. There isn't any specific syntax that you need to do to make this a complex component. Inside our return statement, we're going to want to place all of our components. We'll need to create a div to contain all of the components, as we can only render one element to the DOM, but it can have unlimited children within it. So all we have to do is type in all 7 of our components from red to violet. After you've done that, you can pause the video and go to the React DOM render method and see if you can render this complex component to the DOM. It should be pretty basic. Okay, I'm sure that was no problem. I'll head down there to the React DOM.render method, and we can make sure that we have a working solution. We'll remove our div with all the child components within it and simply replace it with our color spectrum component. Let's go ahead and open this up in the browser, and the results are exactly the same. Only we have built this with a single complex component, which, while this might seem a little trivial now, is a big deal for how we will build apps with React. Now, we'll go ahead and repeat this for class components. The process won't be much different, so if you would like, you can just go to the course code and update your file there for future lessons. However, the more practice the better. If you have a few minutes to spare, we can finish this up together. Let's go into index2.html in our Section 4 folder. Inside of that, we'll go ahead and make our shapes component become our complex component. Currently, it is not being rendered to the DOM. And here's the challenge. create a complex shapes component, passing into it our circle, square, and rectangle components. Go ahead and pause the video and give it a shot. Alright, hopefully that was pretty straightforward as well. First, we'll go to the React DOM.render method, and we'll replace our div element that we passed all our components to, and we'll replace it with our shapes complex component. Next, let's head up to our shapes component, and we'll cut out that h1 tag that is sitting in there. We'll then put in a div tag, and inside of that we'll stuff our circle, square, and rectangle components. Great. Now let's go ahead and open this up in the browser to see how things appear. And the result, success. We have achieved the same results as previously with complex components. See you in the next lesson.